Good morning, Vikings fans. This is Morning Joe's. I am your host, Joe Johnson, owner of PurplePTSD.com, VikingsTerritory.com, and the brand spanking new PurpleTerritoryRadio.com. Thank God. I am here with Mr. Joe Oberly. How you doing, man?
Good morning. Good morning.
I feel like we haven't talked for a while. We were off last week, so it's
Radio silence, man. Got to have it every once in a while.
It's super awkward. Joe is the editor for PurplePTSD.com and VikingsTerritory.com, and we are joined by a very special guest, Mr.
Several guests.
That is true. The Mr. Chad Greenway, who is most well known for Grey Duck Vodka. He also played for the Vikings, I've heard. But thanks for coming on the show.
He's taking his kids to school.
Going to a little gym class right now.
Is there anything you can't do? First question.
Not that I found. No. I'm looking every day though.
Last time you were on the show, you mentioned that you were going to deep fry a turkey for Thanksgiving, and I mentioned that I've heard those blow up, and you said only if you're an idiot, and I was wondering. Yeah. Not that I was hoping it blew up for you, but I was just wondering how that turned out.
It turned out it was my best one. I've done 5 now. One of my favorite things. So I think my biggest strength as a human is knowing my weaknesses.
Nice.
And that was either when I played, or as a dad, or as a husband. So I'm big into researching my weaknesses and finding ways to get better. So I do a lot of reading and things like that. So when it comes to like frying a turkey, I read about a month before I decide I'm going to try to even attempt it, and then I do all the prep, get everything set, buy all my tools, and then I do it so I don't fail. And that's just it's a trait passed down from my dad. But turkey turned out the best one I've ever done. I did a dry rub on this one for the first time. And did my first one ever with my father-in-law down in Illinois. We were there for Thanksgiving, and I got to say, it came out after the 5 minutes, and it looked overdone. It looked burnt. It looked terrible, and I realized that dry rub I had put on obviously just darkened. Kind of actually it added just a layer of just crisp to the outside. It ended up being by far my most moist and my best one. So
Chad,
it was a great year.
Working on your weaknesses, is that something a lot of pro athletes do? They spend a lot more time on that than they do on their strengths, or how does that work?
Yeah, you kind of live in this culture of accountability within like an organization. Just at least in the football world, as far as I can discuss. And you only talk about your weaknesses. If you're watching game tape after a game and you have the best game you've ever had in your life, or had a solid game, or had your prototypical game, you only focus on the plays that you did poorly. And even the coach would just you make a great play, you make a sack or interception, and they kind of hurry through it and move on to the next play and figure out the next mistake you made, because it's a game of mistakes and who can limit them the most, and that's the things you focus on. And I think the best professional athletes are the ones that are most self-aware, like Antonio Brown could do some of that right now.
I was going to say Adam Thielen seems like that type of guy.
Yeah, just being super self-aware of like, hey, here's how I got here. Here's who I am. I'm not somebody that's more unique than probably the guy next door. I just have some genetic ability that was given to me, and I'm going to figure out the best way to use it. And I'm also not good at these things, X, Y, and Z. So I'm going to try to make sure I improve those and limit the exposure to those weaknesses.
Do you find, or did you find that like certain players that we might assume as fans or writers don't handle that as well as others? Like maybe by position group, I'm thinking of like wide receivers, cough, Percy Harvin. Would there be some people that don't, either they take umbrage with the fact that they're being called out for that, or I think like Keyshawn Johnson would give me the damn ball era would be like the worst person to point stuff out, that kind of stuff out too. And I know it's different because you're not looking at that tape with them, but
Yeah, it does kind of vary by position group. Like defensive line, notoriously are like excuse makers and not their fault guys. Like, the classic line is I didn't get the call. And, as a linebacker who's doing all the communication and getting people lined up and making sure the people in front of me and behind me to some degree are in the right positions, the D-line are the worst accusers defensively. DBs are super accountable, especially under the Zimmer era, because they know what they're supposed to do. It's very well communicated to their role, the result is expected. And when it doesn't happen, when you live on an island like they do, you see the person that's just watching the game for the first time can see there was either a mistake or a bad coverage or whatever. So they're always the ones to own up to, hey, I messed this up, or hey, I was in the wrong coverage, or hey, I saw this. D-line's bad on the defensive side, so they're always making some sort of excuse about they didn't hear it, or they didn't get it, or they whatever, or the linebacker didn't tell me. And then offensively, obviously the quarterback lives under that sword, all the way through, and the old linemen are sort of that group that's just super accountable to each other. They kind of live in their own world to a degree. So I would say offensively, you gotta think it's definitely receivers. The quarterback missed through the ball. It wasn't me coming out of a break too soon, or me not running a deep enough route, or whatever that is. And that varies, of course, team to team. And I would say the one thing with Coach Zimmer that if anything, you can appreciate with as a fan is just how accountable our players are to themselves and to each other, and owning mistakes and not trying to excuse something away to somebody else's problem. It was, hey, that lives in my yard, that's my fault, and I'm going to own it and get.
That raises a really interesting question that we didn't talk about last time, I don't believe. There was a lot of reports, was it the off-season before last, about Rhett Ellison's dad saying that Zimmer had like a toxic leadership problem, and that you talking about accountability on the team kind of reminded me of that, because the theory was that he kind of bashed certain players in the media, and that the team was kind of revolting against that. Not sure how specific you can get in that answer, but I take it from what you just said that doesn't really seem to be the case.
Well, I to some degree, I think it is true, though, because I think even the last 2 years, I've noticed things that it's more of his conversations, like you said, with the media, of his I guess we'll call it loose lips, or his approaches to media questions has kind of been a little confusing. Like the Anthony Barr thing, that was a few years back, when he kind of laid Anthony Barr to the wolves, in the media, and with how his play, and I can't remember who it was this year. He did something very similar, and I just find that a little confusing, because he does live in a world where it's all about getting better, and it's all about doing the right thing, from the team perspective, and so I find that pretty interesting that he would do something like that.
Yeah, this year it was DeFilippo, I think, that he kind of threw under the bus eventually. But Chad, I got another question that, when you're talking about watching film and accountability, it kind of brings to my mind PFF grades, Pro Football Focus grades. How far do you think they are, and do they come up into discussion, and are they part of your analysis when you're going over your game film? Maybe not at that particular moment, but when you guys are evaluating yourself and how you're doing, do you guys take that into consideration, or not?
No, never. That was the one thing that I think that we talked about this. You guys there?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're cutting out a little bit.
Sorry. Well, I think the one thing with those is they've gotten better and better, and I think they've become a little bit more accurate, I guess would be the best way to put it.
Yeah.
And I think from a player perspective, though, we never really consider it. It never really crosses our paths, unless it's something that, like, it's a super negative response to my grade as a player, and I'm thinking, wait a second, I just left this team meeting or this defensive meeting, and I scored a 92, and my coaches are super happy with how I played, and I made a mistake here or there, but everybody does. So that's where that loses credibility with the player, and I think the team is, because with social media and everybody kind of being involved in that now, coaches, GMs, we all see that stuff and we read it, and when you're in the building and you know exactly what's happening, we know how accurate those guys are based off what we actually had to do, not based off a little bit of in some cases, a guess.
For that specific play, you mean?
Well, yeah, for that play, but then into a grade, into the whole game, right? Because this is kind of this moving target for these guys who are trying to determine, and it just gives that analytics world some room to breathe and gives them some success. And I think it just gives people just want measuring sticks in general. And I think as an athlete, you need to. That's where social media, which I know we're going to get into that a little bit with Kirk, is. It can be a little bit of a red herring for guys, and that's why I was really not social media driven at all. Almost my whole career, and I kind of started my last 2 years because I realized it was a great business opportunity for me, and I realized I didn't want to miss the chance.
Yeah.
But a lot of guys are on there all the time, even now when they play, and that's tough because you read stuff like this, and the CFF page comes out and there's super negative responses, and I'm like, wait a second. That's not even true. And then you want to get back at them, and you just kind of get this tug of war. And you just want to stay away from that kind of stuff, in my opinion. As a player, you want to stay with just what the facts are. And that's it. Who's writing my check? What do the coaches say? And that's really all that matters.
Does that stuff grind on Zimmer, all his players on social media, and just everybody has a right to do it, and some people do it better than others. And right now, it's looking like Kirk Cousins is having a little trouble with it. But does that grind on a coach to see his players on there all the time?
I think when they're doing a lot of, and I'm not going to give specific examples of this, but I know for a fact that when guys are really self-promoters about their play or say the Pro Bowl voting or All Pro or whatever that might be, I know for a fact based off experience that really grinds Zimmer's gears. And I think the reason is because, and to some degree, he's talking on both sides of his mouth when laying kind of some players to the wolves in the media. But he doesn't like when people are pointing out their own, how great they are, how great they're doing as an individual, and going kind of above and beyond what the team is doing. And I know that drives him a little bit crazy. But to that point, is he probably needs to be a little bit more careful of doing those types of things as well. But all in all, I think. In my opinion, we have the absolute right guy running this ship, and to me, it's about staying with it and getting to continue to get the right people in here, and he's going to get this thing, where we're winning year after year, is my opinion.
What did you make of the Cousins tweet? I will say, as somebody born and raised in Minneapolis, I don't see why. I think the people that got upset by it were people that were kind of off the Cousins bandwagon to begin with, and they just wanted to maybe use that as an excuse to crap on him a little bit. But I don't think he meant anything by it. I think he was just kind of saying how nice it was in Miami, not necessarily that he wanted to leave or that Minnesota sucked. I mean, we're getting 8 inches of snow today. We're all aware of the fact that we live on like Neptune. So I thought it got blown out of proportion, which I think his response was that escalated quickly, which I thought was funny.
Well, that's the key, because you have to know that. You have to be aware of that, don't you? I'll let Chad answer, but it was like, I think people do get too dang excited over something like that. It is warmer in Miami than here. Hello, but
yeah, right.
You got to know what's coming when you say stuff.
I just think in general, right? I mean, you talk about one tweet, but if you follow on Instagram or anything else, I mean, anything, first of all, he's number one, a little corny, right? So he's very much in dad mode, and that's just kind of who he is, and he's not going to apologize for that. And I do appreciate that about him. Is listen, guys, this is who I am, like it or not. And whether you make a negative comment on my social media or whatever you do, like that's not going to affect my day. I just have a problem, like not even from an athlete side, just from like a human being side of like just how negative people get when I think we all know that Kirk Cousins is going out and playing as well as he can every week. And I think that's something that gets lost in the shuffle is we don't have like a diva quarterback who's out like worried about this side or the other. Yeah. The reality is he's grinding every week. And, so the reality of Kirk Cousins being who we kind of thought he was when we signed him, right? I mean, his win-loss record versus winning teams, how he's done in the playoffs, his inability to get us in the playoffs this year. The reality is history says that's who he's been. And we thought when he brought him around our roster and the team we have, and obviously the defense, that he would take us to that next level. And I think for a large majority, we'll say, not maybe a large majority, but maybe half the season to a little bit more, he was that guy. Mm-hmm. And, it didn't finish that way. Statistically, he had a great year. And I know stats, and trust me, stats are not the tell-all. So when you're upset with Kirk Cousins, it's really kind of misdirected, and the reality says that you should be upset with our management.
Yes.
Because Kirk Cousins is who he is, and that's who he's always been. And he's been a great guy, a great leader. He is going to put his best foot forward. Has he performed in the critical moments? He hasn't, but he hadn't before. So for us to think he's going to, turn this page and be something completely different, I don't know why people are so upset at him specifically. And that's why I think it's a little misguided.
You make a good point, because I'm a big person in regard to intent. And if Cousins took that money and then came in like Jamarcus Russell and wasn't preparing like somebody who might be borderline OCD the way that he has been, I understand it's a lot of money, but he prepares. I mean, he was doing like that brain training, like subconscious brain training for reflexes and all that. I mean, he's trying everything. He's on Tom Brady's diet. And so it's not like he isn't trying, so you can be like disappointed, but to be angry at him as a person, I think is kind of gross.
It's social media. I mean, people have a keyboard in there, have anonymity, and they can say whatever they want, and it's just the next extension. I mean, I'm sure Chad has spent plenty of his career where you're just walking off the sidelines and people yell at your not you, Chad, because you never made any mistakes, but
that's not true.
but you know what I'm saying is people have, it's just the next level of the fans trying to get their piece of flesh for the money they paid for their ticket or whatever, I guess.
100%. I think for me, like, as looking back to my playing careers, like you jokingly said I didn't make mistakes. Clearly I did. A lot, and missed tackles and didn't have good seasons and did all sorts of things. But the reality is, I think at the end of the day, I always get the benefit of the doubt from the fans, because they knew the type of person I was and the type of work I put in, and obviously every athlete runs out of real estate, right, and has to move on. But I think that I always got that benefit of that doubt, and I think because Kirk hasn't been here very long, he's been here for a year, and I think the amount of money you pay him sort of gives people this idea they can just attack him.
Yeah.
He probably works harder than every other person possible that's commenting on that post regarding his inability to get the job done. And but that's also the life we live, and that's the position you're put in. And when you make that kind of money, unfortunately in this world, that's what's going to happen.
So I know you just mentioned moving on, so this is kind of a hard segue for me to make, but we had Chris Cluey on the show a couple weeks ago, and I asked him about his reaction to the NFC Championship game and the Saints, both as an organization and the fans, being really upset about the no call, and whether I believe I said, I know you're probably not as petty as I am. And he said, no, I'm much more petty than you are. And he basically talked about how much pleasure he derived from that situation. And as someone who was on the 2009 team, I wanted to get your take on that.
Yeah,
Well, we lost you, Chad. You still there?
I think he's choosing his words.
No, it's one of those things where he didn't hold back, and the censors came in and cut it out, so they didn't want it to go out. But that's
just,
there he is.
Yeah, sorry guys, I keep jumping off my Bluetooth here. My bad.
So we didn't hear you. Did you? How did you feel about what the Saints and their fans were saying in response to that no call?
The parade that they had or whatever?
And knowing that you went through it yourself about 8, 9, 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's just so funny how it worked out, right? I mean, it all comes full circle, and we all, if you played that 2009 championship game, you live in this world where that was like, for me, that was my biggest game I ever played in, right? And for it to have gone down the way it did, and for us to lose the way we did, and for that team to kind of be celebrated for how great they were. In reality, they were just this, to me, just a dirty group of players. And yes, they won, and give them credit. But for it to come kind of full circle now, and for them to take the L like they did, to me, I couldn't think it could have been better. Could have been sweeter and kind of funnier. And I think, you go back-to-back years with us kind of, doing what we did with the Minneapolis Miracle last year, and I was able to witness that in the stadium, and then have that happen to them in the playoffs. I think we've all understood that karma has a funny way of kind of working its way back through you, and then coming at and get you, and that's certainly what's kind of going on here. But all in all, it's a funny game, the NFL, and the fact that refs missed that is mind-boggling. How that could even be possible. But it did, and we move on, and the NFL always is just, every year it gets stronger and stronger, even though they have issues like this to come up.
Chad, we haven't, you're speaking of moving on, we didn't talk about Grey Duck Vodka yet, and I'd like to do that.
Yeah.
And, I had one question I wanted to ask you about it. As everybody knows, Chad's got this business of Grey Duck Vodka now, and I'm just curious, I'm affiliated with Mankato Brewery, and I'm not a business guy, but I'm on their board, and I've since sat in on these meetings, and I think it's fascinating to what I've learned about business, going through this. And I'm just curious, are you involved in that end at all? And do you see, the day-to-day and what goes on, or is it a different responsibility that you have?
No, it is. I'm on the day-to-day operations, actually. Yeah, so it's one thing for me was when I wanted to get involved as an owner of the company, I knew that this was going to be a lot of time, and, I don't have a lot of time, so when things are pinched the way they are, I need to make sure that when I'm spending my time, it's on something that makes sense. And Grey Duck Vodka has been a super fun thing for me to be a part of. My partners are great guys. We all have our strengths, but we all kind of, there's only four of us, and we kind of just all work on it together and find new relationships and keep growing it. And it's been really good. I mean, I don't know how many locations we're in specifically now, but since Johnson Brothers Distributors took us over about 5 weeks ago, we've just absolutely just blown up. So
nice.
We got to be in 500-600 locations now in Minnesota. We're in South Dakota and North Dakota, which South Dakota and North Dakota have been doing well, but not as good as we had hoped. Just being the Dakotas and being huge Vikings fans, we hoped it would have. It's gone well. Like, we're selling and things are cash flowing there. We're doing well, but we thought it would really be a big thing there. So we're kind of setting up and trying to target more things in the Dakotas just to kind of get our brand there and make people kind of know about it and love it and get behind, yes, the brand, who we are, but really just around the fact that you like vodka, the fact that we have a good product, and it's good. It's made from Minnesota corn. It's clean. It's gluten-free. It's Minnesota's version of Tito's. And, we're trying to grow that. So things have been really fun and good. And we have a bunch of new stuff coming up. So we are going to launch in Iowa in the middle of March. We're going to head down there to Iowa City and Des Moines, do a big launch. So we'll be in the state of Iowa. We'll be our fourth state. And then a really fun thing for us is we are one of the exclusive partners of the Twin City Summer Jam, the big music festival that's coming here this summer. The lineup's going to be announced very, very soon. There's some big-time folks that are coming. It's a lot of cross-genre music, so it doesn't matter what you like. There's going to be something there for you. And I think it's going to be fun because I don't care if you're 70 or 15, there's going to be somebody there that you're going to like, which is cool. So we're going to have a huge influence there. We'll be doing a bunch of cross-promotion with Twin City Summer Jam, so a lot of marketing for us, which is going to be awesome. So things have been really fun. The one thing that I'd love to talk about today, just in 2 more minutes, is we are running a huge Final Four promotion with any of our bar partners that we have, restaurants and bars. We are going to do a Final Four drink tournament. So each bar, if you carry Grey Duck Vodka, you come up with your own concept, your own drink. I'm going to put you in a bracket, and then we're going to do voting on social media to see who the final winner is during Final Four weekend. We're going to have a tasting party downtown, and it's going to be just super fun. And just looking forward to doing all sorts of fun stuff and continue to grow our business.
Doesn't sound like you're looking for something to do in your retired years. It sounds like you got plenty.
I'm shocked that it turned into this, to be honest. I never thought this would be the angle, but because I have so many other things going on as well, of course, with our foundation work and all the things we do there, and my kids and sports and everything else. So it's been crazy, but it's been fun.
So one of our clients is a liquor store in by Lake Nokomis, and I've set up a display for you guys there. And the number one question that I get from people is what does it taste like from a vodka perspective? Is it a sweeter vodka? You compared it to Tito's earlier, which piqued my interest, but I think it's hard. Yeah, go for it. Sorry.
So Tito's is pot stilled and ours is canned. Usually what it does, the process is it's a very pure product because it goes through 5 column still, starts at the top, trickles down to the bottom, gets more clear as you go. So it's very clean. I think it has a little bit of a sweet, almost like a little vanilla flavor on the front end. And people really like that, especially the true vodka drinkers who drink it on the rocks and like the true flavor of it. And that's kind of what we get the most from kind of that taste category. So one thing that's important to us is to start getting a lot of these competitions and tastings, and just to make sure that, I guess we know we're legitimate from a flavor perspective, but people want to see that marketing to say, hey, they won this competition, or hey, they beat XYZ vodka in a taste in a blind taste test, and we're starting to get a lot of those competitions and get medals and things for that. And
nice.
That's important not only to us because to know that our product is good, but also I think it just allows people to say, oh wow, they are legit. This is a good flavor. Let's try it.
Awesome.
And so I think that's something that people could look for when they buy a bottle, to taste that up front, to see if they like it, and to see if it's something they could change over. And instead of, everybody's buying a Tito's and soda these days. We want to be selling a duck and soda.
So
there you go.
So people can go to grayduckspirits.com and actually click on the find a location nearest me, put in their zip code, and I think it'll show the closest liquor source to them, or they can follow on Twitter at the real Gray Duck, which is I've noticed the anti-Kirk Cousins, because you're out in the middle of a frozen lake talking about vodka, and I'm like, God, this guy gets marketing.
We are out in so we have changed all of our handles. We're at Gray Duck Factor now.
On Twitter?
We make everything just over to Gray Duck just to simplify it. But our website is, we're trying to get traffic on the website, and websites, you guys know this, it's what you do. Websites are a challenge, right? Because social media is such an influence now.
Yeah.
So, obviously, our handles, we're actually going to do we're kicking off this week. This will be the first time people hear about it. We're going to do give away a free round of golf, an indoor round of golf this winter. And we're also going to give away a signed helmet and a Gray Duck package. We went with Woodchuck. They designed some boxes, and a really high-level box with a bunch of Gray Duck product inside. And we're doing it because we want to continue to boost our social media presence. So we want people to come to our page. We want people to come to our social media handles, like us, come find us, and then and obviously we're going to be able to give away and do a drawing through those names. So it's going to be super fun. We're trying to run some promotions like that. We're trying to kind of find our way through this business, and it's been interesting.
We'll definitely include as much of that information as we can in the article for this episode. And I would love to help promote your guys' stuff, just because you're kind of a friend of the site now, whether you like it or not. So we would love
like it
to,
better now than I did 4 or 5 years ago.
That's the best compliment ever.
Understandable, Chad. Thanks for coming on.
You bet, guys.
Man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
See ya.
Yep.
We'll hopefully talk again. Thanks. So.
Keep in touch, and I appreciate you guys, and I know it's good to have me on from you guys' side, but it's also good for us just to get another way to cross promote things for us from Gray Duck. So I appreciate you guys taking the time.
We'll look forward to that contest
man.
and that event coming up. That sounds like a lot of fun.
It is, yeah. We're also doing a fun. We're actually going with Surly, and we're going to make a summer lakes drink with Surly with beer and vodka.
Ooh.
So we're getting some good partners that that have a good kind of stake in the community and are Minnesota based. And so things are growing fast.
Wow.
Good for you.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, man.
So you bet. See you guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye. That's Chad Greenway joining us on Morning Joe's. It's wonderful to have him on. He's articulate. He's candid. He's
candid is the
he's not holding back, and he's going to tell us how he feels. I mean, he's still a player, and he's still around the team, and he's still it's interesting. I mean, he was he was at the same time praising Mike Zimmer as someone who's going to get it done for the Vikings. He's talking about where he's messed up too, and throwing some of the players under the bus.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting to hear that.
His insight, I just have the biggest smile on my face because you hear things that, I think a lot of people assume that some of these player interviews, definitely with current players, are a waste of time because you're just going to get plug-and-play answers that they've been coached for. And clearly he doesn't need to do that anymore.
Right.
But, he's still so closely attached to what's going on as well that his insight is just awesome. And,
Yeah, I like to hear him talk about the kind of the we. He says we when he's talking about the team, and he was excited to be there for the Minneapolis Miracle, and it sounds like he's still really connected to the team. And I guess there's so many of them that are his friends. You wonder, some guys, in this league where players move around, you wonder if they have attachments to the area and the people and the team. But of course, he is from this area, so that's going to remain. And he does have something he's trying to sell, and that's part of it too. But he's a genuine guy, and you, when you hear him talk and you listen to him answer questions, you're getting you're not getting a fake response. You're not getting something that's been ground through PR people. He's gonna talk, and he's gonna tell you how he feels, and I love it. We love having him on.
Yeah. The one question that we didn't really get to, which we did touch on this with his first interview, but there's been some updates that there was an article in the Star Tribune today by Kramer, and I think it was no signs that Barr is close to signing, and it discussed the probability of the Vikings placing the franchise tag on Barr. And coincidentally, the last person they did that to was Mr. Chad Greenway in 2011.
Oh.
And so, I've always thought that might be the case. I've seen some numbers batted around on Twitter that it might not cost as much as people are thinking to franchise him. I saw some numbers as low as like 10.5, and I think he's already making like 14, and I thought the market was 15.5 for a linebacker. But the entire time, my feeling on this has been they've been working on this forever. The Kramer article starts talking about this has been like a 1-year anniversary of basically Barr realizing that he wasn't going to get extended and that he personally tried to insert himself in the negotiation process and then like immediately backed out because it was like horrible for him. So I feel like there's just a lot of like animosity now, and looking at all the guys around him. Joe, you always bring up the fact that Kendricks got signed before he did, despite the fact that he had another year on his contract after Barr. And I'm almost thinking that this is reaching like a Steelers Le'Veon Bell type thing. That's hyperbole, but you get what I mean.
Yeah, I was just actually thinking about Kendricks, and I think it has to do with when they came in the league and the rookie contracts, why one was signed before the other. But that's got to rankle Barr a little bit since he was here with Minnesota a year earlier than Kendricks, and they've been playing together alongside for how many years now, roommates in college, and you're not human if you don't look to your left and see this guy who's maybe jumped ahead of you or something in this regard. There's some concern there. I wrote an article a number of weeks ago about that the Vikings should sign him, and I still feel that way, but I'm starting to believe that the chances of that happening are dwindling a little bit. I know that I talked to one fellow writer of mine who said that Zimmer kind of put it one way when he was talking about him, said, I want to have him back, he's my guy, and then these things are, when you hear something like that, that they've already been thinking about it and life without Anthony Barr, and they know how difficult it is going to be to sign him. I mean, they could always franchise him, and I'm not sure that they would, because it might not make him happy, and then you're just in this, and a year later you're fighting the same battle. But I don't know. It's unfortunate. I mean, the team's got to find some cap space somewhere, and I'd hate to see him lose this guy because, as much as the things you can say out there against him, I think he's done so much more that it goes under the radar. And you're right, it would have been good to ask Chad about that. Next time we have him on, we'll have to, this thing may have heated up or ended, and we can talk about that, I guess.
I do feel like Barr, if they put him in a different system, like the Bears, that he might become even better than he is. Just let him basically rush the quarterback all the time, or I think he only rushes the quarterback like high teens, low 20s.
Right. But they've already got that guy in Khalil Mack too.
Oh, I'm just saying not the Bears, but a system similar to the Bears.
Oh, I see. Okay.
You talked about like what they've invested in Barr, and I hear these. I don't know. I used to love talking about the what ifs, and I used to joke that I like the off season better than the season because I could always like fantasize about what players the Vikings could end up with, and almost like a Madden-esque philosophy. And as I get older, and maybe you're rubbing off on me a little bit in this way, I don't necessarily. It kind of bothers me to hear like on K-Fan this morning, Meat Sauce pushing this theory that apparently is going around online about trading Xavier Rhodes for somebody, for Brown, I guess is the word on the streets, and everyone's saying that Rhodes is a has-been and so on and so forth, and it's like the guy was banged up all year. He was arguably the best corner in the league the season before that. It just seems like people are so quick to turn on these guys, and just to put a bow on it, that entire thing, from a chemistry standpoint, like if I was playing Madden, yes, I would love to have Brown, Diggs, and Thielen. That would be amazing. But how many balls do they think are going to go around? What does that mean for Diggs? Brown and Diggs are relatively similar skill set wise. One's just elite, and the other one's approaching elite. It just seems redundant and expensive and stupid.
Well, I get a little bit frustrated with this kind of stuff, but it's the way it is. It's the off season. People like us, pundits or whatever you want to call them, speculators or observers, throw stuff out there.
Poet laureates.
To get a response, and when I saw that, I just laughed. I wouldn't. You hear the speculation about trading for Antonio Barr. Number one, I wouldn't do it. Number two, then you start thinking about who would the Vikings trade and the Steelers take. And number three, they come out with Xavier Rhodes. Well, no. The guy, like you just said, you laid it out. He was hurt. He had a down year. He still played very well despite being hurt. How many different ways in the season, and he just doesn't fall off on all his skills like that. And the other thing is, you think Zimmer, the guy who covets every Galding cornerback out there, is going to give up an All-Pro player of his caliber at one? Just 2 years ago, called that some people were saying was the best corner in the league. They would never do that, and that's the kind of guy you'd have to give up to,
if not more,
to get someone like Brown.
Or definitely more.
Now, the other thing is,
the NFL doesn't even work that way.
The other part of this, pardon me?
I said the NFL doesn't even work that way. I can't remember a trade like that outside of Clinton Portis.
Oh yeah, you're right. They don't trade. They trade draft choices because it's such a young person's league. That's. I heard a speculation for a third-round pick for him, which I think is low, but someone will probably offer even higher if that happens. But
for Rhodes or for Brown?
For Brown. The point is,
that's insane.
I wouldn't bring in Antonio Brown because, with all due respect, he's a diva. He's working his way out of there, and he's going to bring his baggage with him. That thing went dysfunctional over there real quickly with Le'Veon Bell and now Brown and people wanting to get out. And the Vikings have two great receivers. You can find another receiver to complement them very easily in the draft or in free agency. Not something that you have to spend. And like you said, there's so many balls out there.
Yeah, they really just need like a reliable third guy who can maybe have 30 catches the whole season, but they're all clutch catches, or the majority of them are.
They don't need a guy out there saying, "Give me the damn ball," which is what's going to happen. Because he's already done that. He had to play with Juju Schuster and Martavius Bryant, and that caused some problems about, how come Brown's not getting me? Well, of course, maybe that's more fantasy football world that's problems than the actual Steelers. I don't know. But, you've got the chemistry between Diggs and Thielen is perfect. It has
really
been.
Is.
And I'm hoping it would continue. And you bring in another guy who can either, stretch the field deep or do something that they don't do as well. And to complement them, and that's what you want. You don't need a headache, and Zimmer's not the kind of guy to invite a headache into his locker room.
I think all they need is a big body guy who can go up and get end zone catches. What Treadwell was supposed to be exactly. Now I do think Brown is arguably the best wide receiver in the league. He's definitely in the top 3 to 5, but he's not that guy. He's similar in size to Diggs. He doesn't make his catches that way,
Yep, and that's Madden, and that's fantasy football, and that's speculators that say, go get him because he's the best. Well, it's more complicated than that, and it would have been fun to hear Chad's take on that.
Yeah.
To say, what do you think about bringing this dude into the locker room, huh? And he's not even that bad of a diva, but there's definitely diva tendencies there.
Yeah, and you nailed it, too, with the dynamic between Diggs and Thielen is like two brothers who, deep down they're proud of each other when they succeed, but they also think, okay, you got yours, I got to go get mine.
Right.
It's not.
That's a key, Joe, right there. You said it. I got to go get mine. It's not, I got to go, you got to give me mine.
Yeah, good point. That's a really good point. Yep.
I got to go get it. I got to work harder. I got to do better. I got to go get it. And, you just can't do that. I mean, especially with the line that's blocking for this quarterback.
So I wrote an article that I don't know what is going on. I was gonna when Chad was talking about ignoring social media, I wanted to bring up on a lower level how that we can relate to that a little bit because of when we write things, we get a lot of mostly negative opinions. People really, it's like Yelp. If you have a decent dinner, you're not going to spend 10 minutes going online to write a review unless you're really into that sort of thing. You really only want to go on Yelp if you're pissed or if there's an emotion driving it. It was awesome or it was terrible. There's no in between. I think that's the same way with the way that people respond to most anything that is online, especially when it comes to theoretical things or speculating, because people have opinions and it's impossible to have everyone agree with you, and I understand that. For whatever reason, I don't know what is going on, I wrote an article about the Flacco to Denver move, showing that the Vikings did make the right move by bringing in Cousins. Not solely because of that, but that was kind of proof for those that I still hear regularly in the neighborhood that, why don't they stick with Keenum? And, I do, I feel for the guy, I do think that they obviously gave him a genuine opportunity. I was rooting for him there, but he just, the crux of my article is if you're a Vikings fan, look at 99, look at 2001, look at 2010. We never catch lightning in a bottle twice. And at some point, Keenum was going to regress to the mean. He was going to go back to being a guy who is a backup quarterback. He was playing at this incredible level, and it just, it wasn't something that I think anybody in their right mind would think that was going to happen again. Especially.
Well, the Vikings obviously didn't.
Oh yes, and the main caveat that bothers me when I do a lot of like the smoke break videos on Periscope is that people don't seem to understand that the line configuration last year was completely different than it was, or 2 seasons ago than it was last season. You had Berger, so you had Reef,
Easton, Elflein,
Berger, Remmers, as opposed to what we had this year, which was a complete cluster. And you also had a guy who was a lot more mobile, but a lot of that stuff was kind of luck. He would duck and spin. It was amazing, but it wouldn't. I don't see that happening all the time. So point being, yes, I still think Cousins was the right move. I think that this move showed that Keenum was going to regress, and I'm comfortable with where the team is sitting because I do. Despite all my Fire Zimmer rantings, I do think that they're still poised to add a couple players and make a run, and that's kind of what Greenway's point was, which I thought was cool.
Keenum was the right quarterback for the line that protected him when he was here in Minnesota. He could bob and weave, he could duck and move, and with that comes all. It's required to have a lot of luck too, and he did have some. He made some lucky passes. He didn't make a lot of downfield throws that where his luck would not have probably shown up. Cousins is not that guy. He is not the guy that's going to do that. We saw that. He's a pocket passer who does like to look for the deep ball and can throw it downfield and get and complete it, and is a very accurate thrower. Totally different kind of quarterback in that regard, and now the Vikings need to find a line that works with Cousins because he's your quarterback for the next 2 years. So you have to protect him so that he can do what he does best.
Isn't that kind of what Greenway was saying too?
Probably.
It's on management, and they knew who he was,
exactly.
So on and so forth. Yeah.
And you've got to do that. You've got to find out, what his strengths are and accentuate them. And we've said this millions of times. They didn't give Keenum the whole offense. So yes, we knew that given that responsibility elsewhere, he was going to have problems. And he threw quite a few more interceptions than he did here in Minnesota. And the team regressed out there. Now we'll see how good it works for them with Flacco. I don't know. I mean, Flacco, I think, is on the other end of his career too, and I don't think he's ever been that dynamic of a quarterback. But if Elway's thinking he wants another John Elway, who's more like a Brett Favre that could take the team on its back, the offense on its back, and lead. I don't know if Flacco's that guy, but
I don't know if Denver is a quarterback away from repeating either.
I think so. They still got a good defense, but they got to figure out the offense as well. I have the bottom line is, Joe, there's no use looking back. Keenan's not coming back here, even though people are saying, and Antonio Brown's not coming here, and Adrian Peterson's not coming here.
Way to tie it all together.
So you got to take with what you got and move forward, and build forward, and find younger players, and that's what the Vikings are going to do. They're going to. God darn it, they're going to draft that lineman this year at number 18 unless they move up and take one even sooner. They're going to hopefully find one in free agency, and they're going to take one by the time the third round is passed, I think, as well. I hope so.
Me too.
Get some depth there because it's really their biggest thing. But then all that said, if they lose Anthony Barr to free agency, they're going to have to fill that hole too. So, I'm not sure they'll – that person's on our roster. Eric Wilson did a great job last year stepping in, but I don't think he's Anthony Barr. I don't think he's Anthony Barr. So we'll see. So and that's what you're faced with every year. Everybody says, they should just draft a lineman and then it's over. And I wanted them to draft linemen for years. For years, they tried, they failed, but they got to keep trying. But you still got to draft other positions, and things always happen there. And
I think they've shown that they can develop late round talent on defense a lot better than they can on offense. It's a system thing, I'm sure, but you look at guys like I think Everson Griffin was a 4th rounder. So on and
Diggs was a 5th rounder. Adam Thielen was an undrafted player.
Yeah, but
they're on offense.
I know. Yeah, we've talked about that though. I think Anyway, so I will be completely honest. I have never struggled as much with the website than I did with PurpleTerritoryRadio.com, and the best way to put it is that I brought in 4 different IT consultants. Started at $25 an hour, got all the way up to $150 an hour, and every single one of them told me, "Sorry, I can't help you."
Well, I'm on the wrong business.
Yeah, it's when I started working at the job board that I won't name because I'll get a cease and desist. I would post a lot of IT consulting gigs, and the billable hours were insane. And I thought, why did I not go to school for that? Point being, I was so deep in the rabbit hole of building this website that I don't really. I saw the team talking about it. I saw you talking about it on Slack, but I didn't see really what was behind the whole Adrian Peterson thing. Whether it was just somebody put that out there as a talker, whether it was AP is shown that he wants to come back here. If people are saying if Latavius Murray leaves, then AP's the answer. I don't know where that came from.
Well, I guess you didn't read my story then. Wow.
We established that I can't read years ago.
Okay. Former Broncos running back Terrell Davis just made the statement he thought that AP's got a lot of life in him. It would be great to see him back in Minnesota to retire as a Viking, blah, 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 blah. And of course, just like it is in the offseason, and Meat Sauce talking about Anthony Brown being traded for Xavier Rhodes, it's like people pick up on it. And that's how I started out, crabbing that, oh my God, we got to talk about this now. It's not going to happen. Stop saying it. Don't. Kill this now because it won't happen. Adrian doesn't want to come back here. He's still mad. He wanted to knock the team out of the playoffs last year. His wife does not want to come back here. So it doesn't make any sense. Adrian can still play in the league. There's no question about it. And I don't think he wants to come in and be a part-time back behind.
No, I mean, beyond all of it, that's the thing. He wouldn't. I think Zimmer said late in the season in regards to how they use Latavius Murray, that they throw him out there every third series. I don't see Adrian Peterson, even at his age, being happy with that or being productive that way.
Latavius Murray's not happy with it. He's looking elsewhere, So
that's another draft thing, too.
Well, they also have Mike Boone and Rock Thomas on the roster.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, so they have bodies there that they can use to fill in. I mean, both of those guys are not Latavius Murray, but they have some depth there. So I suspect you'll see Latavius move on because I think he wants to start, but I don't think you'll see Adrian Peterson here. I would be so totally surprised if they did.
Yeah, what's Toby Gerhardt up to? Anyway, I do want to implore people to check out the new site. These episodes are going to be posted on Purple PTSD and Vikings territory as well. Remind everyone that we do now have it set up to where if you subscribe to Morning Joe's on any platform, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Play, you will only receive Morning Joe's. You're not going to get every other show the way it was set up before. So it's kind of a multifaceted, really cool thing. If you go to PurpleTerritoryRadio.com, you're going to see all the different shows, but you're going to be able to click on an episode and then say, okay, I want to listen to it on iTunes, click on that, and then you can subscribe or listen to that show, so on and so forth. It's really intuitive, and it's actually really, really fancy. So I'm super, super excited that we have this going because I just think it's the perfect time. I mean, there was the article in City Pages this week about how K-Fan has become the largest sports radio
most
network, most dominant per capita. And God, there's so much I want to say about that, but I just think that there is room for more people. I think there is, people still. The crux of the argument was that Minnesota sports teams disappoint people so often that why talk about them at all? Go off the reservation and talk about other things. And, I'm not bashing them at all because I love listening to a lot of those shows. But I do think that there's a market for people that do want that. And we have as of the recording of this show, 13 different shows. And, this show's general, but we have a draft show, we have a fantasy football show, we have all sorts of cool stuff. So just stay tuned, and we might have some really cool news coming up before the season. But thanks everyone for being patient, and we can finally start growing. And I'm telling you, Joe, we got rid of the echo, we got a site. Next stop, I don't know what a good what's next. What would be good?
We'll be broadcasting on the moon, baby.
There you go. I'll take that. But thanks everybody. So this has been Morning Joe's. Thanks for listening, and we will be back next Tuesday and every Tuesday for the foreseeable future. Skol!